we're recording.
We should put it like a board here.
Movie messages is written in crayon.
Yes.
Yeah, that would be awesome. So I think we're recording. Yeah. Cool. Awesome.
Okay.
We're talking about Blade of the Immortal. Yeah, we're still in the frame.
Yes.
Yeah, you can sit there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Blade of the Immortal.
Mm-hmm.
What did you like it?
Oh yeah, I loved it.
I also loved it. I loved it. And I mean, because it's Japanese, number one. I'm just laying it out there because, you know, if it's Japanese, I'm instantly drawn towards it at some level.
Yeah, that's good.
Then I examine it like a regular film. Like, is it actually a good film? But it's Japanese. I'm excited about it.
Yeah, it's there's something about it, right? Like there's something about their design, the sense of design, their sense of minimalism. I think minimalism even comes from Japanese culture. I'm not sure. I need to check. But even do you know the shops? I don't want to talk about brands and so on, but you know Muji, like they have really minimalist.
This is Muji.
Okay, great.
I'm not kidding.
Okay.
This is Muji.
So I like the straight to the point kind of design, like the.
Yeah.
So and you know I like the way their letters, their characters, like calligraphy looks, and especially in
it's very inherently stylish.
Yeah,
I know, dude. I made a video game about it. Like my game is Japanese aesthetic because I just like people ask me why is it Japanese. I'm like because it's cool. Like you change it from Japanese to anything else, it's not cool anymore.
Yeah.
So what do? You make it in Japanese. End of story. It's that easy. So yeah, Japanese aesthetic. I think that just comes through in every way in the movie. You can see it. That it's very Japanese, is what someone would say if they look at the film.
Yeah, it's. I mean, of course, it sounds. When you read the synopsis or if you watch the trailer, it doesn't do justice at all to the movie because, of course, if you have to sell the movie, you sell on the fact that it's based on samurais and you will see some katana action and so on. Right. But it doesn't really. You have to watch the movie to get the full. Like what it's doing it really its own thing. Of course, I'm not a really big samurai movie watcher. Let's say, like I have not seen all the.
I've seen all the Kurosawa films.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I've seen. I think I've seen Ran. I've seen Seven Samurai, and the other ones are on my list. So. So in that perspective, as a samurai movie, can we call it? Can we put it in the box of samurai?
Yeah, I would call it a samurai film because it checks off a lot of the things that you would expect from a samurai film. For example, samurai, right? It had a lot of those, and they had the whole political aspect of it also, which I didn't follow completely because I'm not really familiar with the period. Like they had the shogun and the this and that. We talked about this, right?
Yeah,
but the very fact that that was there, like it's usually like a thing you would find in a samurai film.
Like in cases like somebody's watching this from Japan is watching this video, and we have to admit that. When I was watching the movie, I'm like, I have to read up on these things.
Yeah, you don't pick up on the subtle clue, the cues that, you know, like they talk about a thing and everyone's like, oh, so serious about it, and we're just like, what? Who's the shogun? Like, that probably means something, so we should look it up. Yeah.
What is the difference between a samurai, a shogun, or I don't know, like, is there, like, at a certain point he say, like the, I don't want to pronounce his name because I don't remember the name, but the guy who is portrayed as the villain from the beginning, the guy who kills the girl's parents.
Right, the anime-looking dude.
The anime-looking dude.
The guy wearing the blue kimono.
Turquoise, I would say.
Turquoise, maybe, yes. Alright, fine.
Like light turquoise kind of. And like we said, to sort of keep within that Japanese zone, I'm sure there are plenty of references in Japanese culture which we are not.
Which we were not picking up on.
Yes, like
I mean, it would only be better. Like the film would be better if I was picking up on those cues.
Yes, like for example, what is that? Why is the sorceress, that lady who gives him that bloodworms, is dressed like that? Like I don't know, but it looks so cool.
I recognize that character from other Kurosawa films, like where the mythical old lady ghost kind of appears. It's happened in like those films before. And you look at that, you're like, aha, I know this trope, if you want to call it that. So yeah, I think it would be a more interesting. Like I could watch it again. Like if I was more familiar with all of those things, it would be a more. I would be more engaged with the plot and the story, definitely.
So I love the fact that it's also based on a manga, right? So it has that.
I've not read it. I've not even know.
Yeah, of course. You have to mention that we have not. I mean,
I'm not a Blade of the Immortal fan who just saw the film. No.
So I don't know if it's like a short series or I mean, so it is based on a manga, and like when I was talking about the calligraphy, we see it because when he's fighting the guy, he talks about lessons, like when as he's fighting,
here's something you like fighting 101.
Yes.
Never have the opponent this and that, and they would put the characters on the screen
exactly
like in kanji
and also sometimes when the Sorceress was narrating, like
I didn't notice those. You noticed those. I did not notice.
So there is one. I mean, in the beginning she does that, and then there is another voice, like a man's voice, narrating a transition into a new scene, and they were like Japanese. I mean, the letters. So I guess it's like the film equivalent of captions. Like in the panels, they have captions, they have balloons for dialogues and for dialogues.
I was too focused on the English subtitles. I think maybe that's why I missed them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's also like the thing. Like I mean, you have to read the subtitles.
I would rather watch it with subtitles than like watch it dubbed.
No. It's I mean, we can do.
That's a whole different podcast.
Let's not go there. Podcast.
So one thing that really stood out to me,
sure.
and I'm really excited to talk about that, the fact that they don't change their clothes. Right, I find it makes so much sense that they don't change their clothes, because you recognize the people, like the characters, not only through their faces but also like the clothes that they're wearing.
Yes.
And they don't mess with that because there's really no reason for them to be like changing their clothes outside of it's hygienic, right? And the movie's not about, oh look, the characters of our movie are really hygienic and that's like a plot point. No, it's not. Nobody cares about that, right? And I really, and it stood out like over the course of the film. It was a long film, and towards the end of it, you just like you're not only like looking out for the characters' faces, like you just know that person over there fighting is that guy.
Yeah.
Why? Because he's been wearing those clothes for 2 hours now, right? And that's how you like engage with the film in a more visual way, where the characters are always just very recognizable.
Yeah, I had something to say about that. Like first, I think it's also very comic booky, or I mean, if you watch like One Punch Man or like other series which are based on manga, like the anime series. Of course, everybody has a uniform. Like I mean, you recognize them as with their dress. Their costume is part of their character. And the other thing I was going to be, maybe it's because I read *Sapiens* by Yuval Noah Harari, and he says like back then people like the fact that we wash ourselves every day is just really recent. I mean, I don't know how many years, but like even back then they don't. I don't think they really cared about that much.
That might be it, but I'm pretty sure the fact that they don't change their clothes there was some artistic intent.
And also I think most characters who are not like family. Like people who have families and who have households, like they are traveling. Like the girl, she just left her home and she was looking for this immortal guy, and the immortal.
They don't talk about
exactly
how she found him, or you know where her uncle is. Like it's not part of the story.
Exactly,
you don't need to talk about it.
It's
called, what do you call this? Suspension of disbelief,
yes.
right? You just brush it off, and this film does it so confidently. Like it's just, we're not going to explain how this guy can throw up weapons. And that's what he does, and they do it all the time, and you're not allowed to question it. And
because you see the two katana swords he has here, but sometimes he just does this, and then
there's like a bunch of weapons that come out, right?
So he's like, where is he keeping those?
And they use that in every fight that he goes through. Like he goes through this second phase of the fight where they show that he's being beaten and he's losing. That's why he's pulling out that other weapon, and that signals to the viewer every time that he's in distress. That is why he's pulled out this other weapon. And they use that trope, and they have that consistency. Like they are always sticking to that. Those rules they're not messing with. I really like that.
It's like nobody credits a movie just because they. Oh, I really like that to say they kept the same bed in their room, you know.
Right.
Like nobody credits that. Like they want, if you're going into a movie, you want to experience something, you want to feel something, right? So, of course, if if you, I mean, if it's a documentary, of course, it makes sense that you keep attention to these details. But if you are telling this kind of, it's a mythology, right? I mean, it's kind of a story
That's something that should, I think, every film should push the viewer in that way, where if the thing is not relevant, the film should how should I put this? Mess with that element, because it actually doesn't make any sense and you don't need to explain it. It doesn't have any effect on the story, right? Why can the protagonist throw up weapons? Doesn't matter. He can, and it's the thing that he's going to do. Deal with it. And the fact that a viewer can deal with it is also something that is like, it's like the viewer in the film, they're having this exchange, right? Like they're having this like back and forth where, oh, you think you're comfortable with the universe of this film? Try this on for a size, and the viewer's like, oh, okay, I guess this is also a thing now in this film. And I love that. I love having that play with the
like even before the main title card, like the title credits, they tell you what the movie is going to be. Like you don't know, you don't need to worry. Like this guy, like some lady shows up with a weird costume and puts bloodworms and in his wounds, and they somehow close back the wounds, and that's how he is immortal.
Right.
And that's, so that those are the rules. Like don't worry, we'll tell you the rules as we go on.
Right. And they keep doing that. I think in other Western films they establish the rules very quickly and then they stick with them and they create tension out of that.
Yes.
Whereas this movie did that too. It also keeps playing around. Like it'll keep playing around with you. It'll keep giving you things which you'd go, what? Like really? There's a guy who can speed through the trees and shit. Like that's what one of the enemies that he fights. Like they can like run really fast or whatever. And you're just like, and the film is like, all this while you had no idea that there is this element in the universe of the film.
Was there a guy who could run?
The guy who would, like the enemy in the blue costume, where he would run really fast. Like he would like the leaves would fly when he was running towards the protagonist, right?
Yeah.
Like I don't know, that wasn't a superpower that was discussed before. Nobody explained how he has that superpower. We don't need to explain it, right? It's just a thing. And
he's also influenced by anime, like the small things, film, like the slides, like the
costumes,
which
was pretty cool to see. Like it was a samurai period film, but also had like anime characters with the anime makeup, and all the women, they were all like, the makeup and everything, straight out of an anime kind of setting, but combined with the old like samurai setting. It was like it was a nice mix. Like they would pick the best elements from both. It was a cool mixture.
Like especially that guy with the glasses.
The glasses with, like that, the round glasses.
And you
straight out
like,
of
okay, so there's some sort of design effort went into this.
Yeah, and everyone's wearing those old like Japanese like kimonos and this and that. And one of the enemies, the woman with the blue, the woman in the blue, she's like wearing like, I don't know, like space age uniform of some sort, right? It was like this weird, and it totally stood out, and nobody explained it. Nobody, like the film wasn't like, oh, here's the reason why she's dressed this way. No, she's just dressed that way. Deal with it.
Yes.
Right, and I love that. I think that's pretty cool.
I think like but it's like I said from the beginning, if you are in this movie called Blade of the Immortal, like I mean you're not looking for like to have a like a social real view on things. Like that's what I like about it. Like most movies, and I appreciate when it's really done well, like realism. So I'm reading this book by Grant Morrison, who is a comic book author, and he's a chaos magician. He's really into the weird occult and stuff. And he's one of the most brilliant authors in comics. And in general, I'm reading this book called Super Gods. He wrote about superheroes, like the history of superheroes, and even in the interviews he says this, like it's actually a lot of times people, like when characters like Superman or Batman or Wonder Woman, they always try to like make them human, like and try to make them human or make them fit in our reality. But actually, it's more interesting to put yourself in their shoes, and then like interesting things happen, right? So, and like talking about Superman and the being immortal, like everybody says, like how can you make a character like Superman who's like like nobody can do anything to him. How can you make him interesting? Like, this is how you make him interesting. Like, he is immortal, but they play with that.
I really like that about this film, where, you know, like, you're watching a regular film where obviously here's this one person who's the protagonist, hero person, and obviously he's probably not going to die before the film concludes, right, in some way. And in this film, like, after the first scene, like after the credits, they established that. They were like, you know this already. You know that there's going to be a protagonist and he is not going to die. Let's both be really clear about this, right? And the film laid it out for you. It's like, if there's anything exciting and like if there's any tension that's going to build here, it's not because, oh my god, this guy might die before fulfilling his purpose. No, our film is more than that, right? And that's the message I got from the film. And they pretty much, you know, saw that through, because every fight that he would go through in the film, when he fought multiple enemies before he arrived at the final boss or whatever, typical video game.
I mean, again, I'm not saying that a character like Superman is similar as the character of the Immortal. I'm just saying, like, the way they used him was really interesting. Like, I mean, I think we told, like, you care about the guy. Like, he's not a good guy. I mean, he's that's the other thing. Nobody is a good guy. Nobody is.
That was
like
very
that.
interesting about this
And
film.
in the beginning, you think that you figured it out, and then each time it just shows you, you see. I mean, that's not really like so.
The whole film was just that, like, where you would have this expectation that this one character would conclude a certain way, but then they don't, in this most surprising plot twist kind of way. So it was just like, I felt that every sequence was just like a slap in the face plot twist, where you're like, oh, this might happen, but it doesn't, right? And then they move on to the next character, where like, oh my god, like, a crazy lady is going to kill the protagonist. No, she's not. She's just going to get bored and walk away. Alright, cool, that's great. You know,
no,
like,
she wasn't bored. She was. She had like a crisis, like
whatever,
like a dilemma, and she was like, "Oh, I thought." So it was as if
so
you know how directors, they say, like, I like the process, but I don't watch my movies. So like the culmination of the thing you've been doing, like, some people don't really care because they don't have that high that they have when they're creating something. So she says that I love fighting, but I don't like killing. So she just loved that.
And this is after she's cut both his arms and his legs, and he's just like sitting there. It was funny, like, I don't know, you weren't laughing during the film, and like you mentioned before, like, how you don't like audiences to be like annoying. But I was just like, this is hilarious. Like, the humor in this film was crazy, because he's all cut up and they're talking about these things. I'm just like, can we please pay attention to the fact that the hero doesn't have arms anymore? It's like crazy.
So to talk about that, like I don't mind people smiling. It's just me. I'm weird. I watch so many fucked up things, and I watch so many comedy and comics, and I'm a stand-up geek. You know, I'm a nerd. I watch a lot of. So it takes a lot to actually make me smile or laugh out loud. Like, I smile, or
it wasn't like great jokes or anything.
No, it's not a great joke.
It's just like the humor was different.
Yeah,
it was like it's all really weird.
It's not
and the film,
it's not
a sitcom. It's not got that build-up payoff kind of joke humor kind of thing going for it. Not at all. But it was just like, there would be situations where, you know what this film does, and we talked about this, where they hold shots, right? They hold their shots a lot, and it's like, it's beautiful because the use of color and everything comes through. That's where the humor also usually comes through, where, you know, there's that shot where somebody said something and they cut to the hero and he's just all, you know, cut up. No pun intended. He was actually, like, you know, without any limbs, and he's like expected to say something, and you're just like, that right there, the very fact that they held that shot for more than 2 seconds is hilarious, because it's just like let's just take a moment to see how absurd all of this is, right? And the movie goes on, and I love that.
I like that. So it's very meditative. Like when a director does that, like they hold the shots because I think there is a lot of confidence in it. Like they have a lot of confidence in the performance of the actors. They have a lot of confidence, and also they want to show you the setting. Like, the setting is beautiful. Like, the interiors.
They show it off because they can, and they put effort into doing it. Right?
And like, even in the beginning when the girl, I forgot her name, the girl who goes to find Manchi, the Immortal.
The girl in red.
The girl in red.
Yes.
When she's eating with her parents, that like when they are really calm and it's like it's lit by only one candle or something. I don't know if it's a candle or some lantern, I guess. and that's beautiful. Like watching, and then you are in the room with them, and especially it's so I love the fact that, and you don't see movies like that anymore. Like you feel like there are people, directors or editors. I don't know how the process is, but you feel like they are in a hurry. They want to get to the next point. Like this is happening. This is happening. It's like no. It's like in real life, usually people don't behave like that. It's like you don't say something and then leave the room. Like you know.
Right.
So I don't know.
You're taking the moment, right?
Exactly. It's
I
more
forget
impact.
the
There's
name
more
of
impact.
that director, the other director, not Kurosawa, but the other guy, really famous Japanese director, and he makes only slice of life Japanese films, and yeah, his whole movie, like he's made a couple of those movies. I don't remember the names, but they're all about that. They're all about like observing the like life, like regular things in life, and you just like look at them. And this film does that all the time. It did that all the time, where a conversation would conclude and then they would just keep it short.
Maybe it's because I draw comics and I love comics, and maybe it's based on a manga. So when you're reading comics, these are still images, right? So there is a stillness, of course, because these are still images. But I think maybe they were also trying to capture that. I think that's because you look at the drawings. Oh, look at the like the details on the background.
You take a moment to
you
appreciate like more aesthetically. You can just look at it and be like, this frame is awesome.
Yeah, which is why in the anime or in manga, if the artist wants you to take a moment and then slow you in the reading of when you're panel, he will put a lot of details because that automatically slows your eye.
That's smart.
And if he wants you to focus on the action of the character, you wouldn't see any background. That's why. In anime, sometimes when the character is jumping towards the screen, background is like lines and stuff. Like it's very dynamic, right? So I love that. Like the fact that
about pacing, shots. I don't know if you felt that in this film, because I did it many times where I felt that how most films they have a pace and they stick to it. You go from one scene to another, and it's like an ellipsis. It's like this is how much time is going to pass between two scenes, and if it's not that same amount of time that is being that's not the same amount of time two scenes have between them, they won't be two different scenes and they would collapse them into one scene, right?
I don't get it.
Okay, I'll use different words.
So
there were
pacing. Okay, so which means
you go from one scene to another, like some time goes by.
Okay,
right? If that time is not going by, right, then it wouldn't be two scenes. It would be one scene. That they would just cut to the next part, right? If the conversation is like between two people, there's a conversation happening and they're still having that conversation, you won't go to a next scene and continue that same conversation. No, you would do it right there. This film did not do that. Like it would, like I would find that you go from one scene to the other, and it would continue from where we left off before, and then suddenly, right, a lot of time would go by. Right, and then you would find yourself you'd find yourself catching up with the film. You're like, okay, where are we now? Like I don't get it. Like how much time has passed? Like is that over? Like that whole sequence that was happening before. Did you feel that in this film? Did that happen to you?
I mean, I like that because it keeps you on the edge of the seat because you're like so. I mean, I don't like when. Movies is like show me, don't tell me, right? I mean, I like movies like that. I mean, I don't know. Maybe some people say, sometimes you have to tell and not show. Or, I mean, it works both ways. But in this case, like it's a very visual movie, and it's so. I like that fact that they messed it up a little bit, and of course I loved it. And it's not your usual. This is like two people are talking, and then. Okay, this happens. I mean, they do that. Like they give you information, and like you said, sometimes they would cut in an unexpected moment, and I love that. Yeah.
Keeps you on your toes. I like putting some work into it. Like some people would explain that as like bad editing or something, but I wouldn't say that. I would be like it keeps things fresh. It keeps it exciting.
Have you seen the movie The Handmaiden?
No.
It's I don't want to butcher the names of the director. It's a South Korean movie.
Okay.
About it's one of the sexiest movies, and it's one of the really great erotic thrillers I've seen in a long time, because you don't get erotic thrillers anymore. Like you don't get Eyes Wide Shut anymore. You know?
Right.
And in this one, there's a scene where they are plotting something against the family. So the usual thing will be, if it was the usual, like a cliche Hollywood style, they would cut in when they are sitting around a table, and then when the camera is going like this, and then the guy has already started talking, right? But in this one, it was like they were showing the feet, and the guy just the conversation has already started. You are dropped in the room, and you're like, wait, what's going on? And then maybe some people don't understand, so won't understand, and then they're just taken out of the scene. But I love that, like that fact.
I like being
they
taken
make you work
out a
for
little
it.
bit. Yeah, I like being taken away from it for a little bit, so I can make my way back in and put that effort into going back in.
Yeah.
It keeps things interesting. Otherwise, it's too monotone. It's too easy sometimes.
I watched Interstellar after. I watched Interstellar after a long time.
Okay.
I haven't seen that movie, so I love that movie, and I heard a lot of criticism. But maybe we can do another video.
We'll have to talk about, because
a lot of criticism was like, "Oh, I don't understand the movie." Yeah, but that doesn't mean that it's a bad movie. You know, just because you don't
understand and understand.
So what I'm saying is, a lot of people are not. Like, they just see movies.
I think this is a subjective thing, right? Like, some people might not enjoy that whole thing where they mess with the pacing all that much. Maybe.
But this is great.
I personally love that. I like it when a film does that. Catches me off guard.
Yeah. And what about the fight scenes? What did you think about that?
I think they were long. They could have been more exciting. They were not Jackie Chan level of action sequences, right? That is what was lacking. Which is why I think I felt like they were
You were expecting Jackie Chan choreography?
Of course. That's the best, right?
That's
the fight sequence you can play for an hour. I'll be interested. Like, yeah, keep going, because this is awesome. This film had that typical, they would make that mistake where they would put it's not a mistake, like, it was a style and they stuck with it, and it's fine. The camera and the actor's face, and the action wasn't fun. It was stylish, but after a while it got a bit much, at least for my taste. Like, I wasn't into it.
It was not definitely, it was not, okay, I agree, it was not fun, but I wasn't bored by it. Like,
okay.
Of course, there's not a dance, right? Like choreography with whether it's Bruce Lee or
it was
Jackie
just
Chan,
guys getting cut up, and the sound was awesome, and there was blood everywhere.
Yeah.
Great.
So
it got old for me.
Yeah, I totally get it. But what I liked about it is, like, it sort of balanced the calm scenes that were stretched. And
it did. The moment the film was over, I told myself I liked the calm bits a lot more than the action bits.
Yeah. Maybe that's what they want you to like, because they want you to be a non-violent being. Maybe after watching this movie, like, it's
because there was a lot of violence.
Exactly. Yeah. I think it's if I have to sort of pinpoint, not pinpoint, but if I have to like get across like the messages, I think violence like results in more violence.
Okay.
Because as we said before, like, there are no good guys and bad guys.
Right.
So when she confronts the guy dressed in turquoise, the anime guy,
Nemesis, yes,
the Nemesis, and he's training, and he tells the flashback story of his grandfather or great grandfather being outcast from. How you say it, like, gasted out.
Yeah, it was like exiled or something.
Yeah, from the dojo. It's
it's a clan, I think. I don't know what it is.
Because dojo is
a school.
Is a school, right?
Yeah.
And
because he was using an axe. Exactly. That was barbaric. Mm-hmm. That's the word they use in the translation. Yeah.
Even though he used it to protect the monastery or whatever it is. And
which is why he was going around schools right now, killing everyone. Mm-hmm. Okay.
So he was doing that, and one of the victims was this girl.
Yes.
And
girl's father.
Yeah. And then even in the beginning, when she finally meets the Immortal for the first time, he even says it, like, do you think you are the good guy because you just decided to take
just
revenge?
Because
that's usually what happens, right? In the usual revenge. I mean, I love revenge movies. Like
they're awesome.
Yeah.
They have their
but
place.
Usually you side with the guy who wants to take revenge, but you don't really think about that. Okay, they are taking revenge. They had their loved ones killed in front of them or whatever. But the thing is, you are still going to you are trying to kill someone. So,
which is what was funny. It wasn't like the film waited till the end to drop that bomb on you. It did it before.
Yes.
It did it before. It did it in the start, where it's like, oh, you have some idea of who's the good guy and who's the bad guy. Ha, nice try.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go for 2 more hours, and you won't know why people are doing what they're doing. And they bring that up again, where when he's almost dying, the protagonist, and the lady shows up,
Yes.
and she says it to his face that, if you want to die, just give up. Why the hell are you clawing for that sword over there? Like, just let it be, just give up. And he's like, no, and he picks up a sword with the hand that's half cut, and the bloodworm spilling out, and then he kills the guy who's trying to kill him. Why is he doing that? What is the message here? And I was just like, this is great, like, this is awesome, because the film keeps telling you that you actually have no idea why, it is not a revenge story.
Yes.
It isn't. And the movie was like pushing that on your face all the time. It was just saying, this is not the way.
And that's the other thing,
You
like,
recognize.
we talked about the unusual pacing and so on. So there's also, this movie constantly creates expectations, or sort of makes you think something and then just turns the page on.
Slaps you in the face.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then,
Most of the characters in the film just did that.
yeah, like when we were talking about the costumes and the fact that the characters look like comic book characters that they would make toys out of.
Right.
You think that this is great because they are showing this other story, so maybe some way their paths are going to cross and they're maybe going to team up together like Avengers or this.
That happened, yeah.
And then just like go beat this guy because he's too strong, right?
And yeah.
And that didn't happen.
And they would give a more absurd reason for it, and you'd be like, oh, really? Okay, fine. Maybe that is the way it is. Is that how you felt about the whole axe thing? Like when the guy in the turquoise, like and he gives this story out of nowhere. It's like the movie just made it up at the point.
No,
Do you
he
think the movie was
doesn't,
trying to like make fun of the plot? Like,
You mean fun of revenge movies?
maybe where
No,
he
I
comes
don't
up.
think it
I was
it
confused.
was
I'll be
just-
honest. I was confused at that point. I was like, is the movie just like making fun of the whole thing?
No,
But-
I think he just gives you another version of a revenge movie.
yeah.
And he does it brilliantly, by the way. And it's the thing is, no, but he doesn't just say it. There's also that awkward speech where, I mean, there's awkward.
The whole thing was awkward because she goes off on her own, like from his house, where he was like, one day where I just want to do my thing, you do your thing, just go train. And she runs into him practicing with his axe, and he tells her this story that she had no idea about. Okay.
No,
Alright.
I think by looking at her, I guess when they say eyes are the windows to the soul, maybe looking at her, he sort of sees himself when he was in that stage when after he hears maybe that his grandfather happened to him and what happened to him, and then he was like he had this rage but he didn't know what to do with it, and then he so that's why he says, like, I mean, we are in a way the same, and then she just like she runs off saying, no, we're not the same, and but he's right, like, and I love when villains are right in movies, because those are the best villains, when they are when you agree with the villain. Those are the best villains. And at the end you sort of feel,
Oh man, the climax was awesome.
yeah, you think
When she was defending him.
yes,
Oh my god, because she wanted him to be like killed, not by the army.
Yeah.
She didn't want that.
So at the end, it ends up being like
Crazy
the
conclusion.
government who's obsessed about the control, not losing their. I don't know what it is. Like they don't want to lose the tradition, right? They don't want to, because he's saying that we should try different styles to sort of defend whatever
I
we.
think the government's motive was basically that they didn't want him to have that much power. He was too powerful.
Yeah.
And they just wanted to crush him, and they did. They crushed his whole clan.
yeah,
And at the end of it, they just wanted to get rid of him. He was the only one left. And he puts up a fight. And who backs him up? The protagonist, right?
Yes.
Why does he back him up? Why does the government wanting to kill him? Why does he team up with him?
So-
Because he had the choice at that point to not team up with him, right? The girl was attacked by one of the government guys, right?
Yes.
Because the leaders like go take care of the girl, and he's almost going to hurt her, and he like comes in. That's his entrance into the fight. Like he shows up and he hurts that guy, and both the antagonist and the protagonist are like, oh, I guess we're in the same team now. Why? Because we don't know, right? Because the girl doesn't want the government guys to take out.
Yeah, but there's also, in the beginning they set it up really brilliantly, where the Manji, who's the Immortal, he was protecting his sister who was married to one of the officials he killed.
Yeah, yeah.
And she became mad because she saw her husband being slaughtered in front of him. And when he saw this girl in red, that reminded him of his
first thing he
sister.
says. Yeah.
So at the end, I think when she comes to ask him to be her bodyguard, I think he goes along with it, but at the end, I don't know, he kind of loses his way and he becomes doubtful because he starts losing his powers, but at the end he realizes that his meaning of life is that to protect her, and then that's why I think he goes running back and then that's how he ends up in that
in the fight,
in the battlefield, in the ambush, like when he's being ambushed. And also I think, in a lot of movies there is this, when you save someone's life once, you feel you are responsible for their whole life. And I think there's also maybe that.
And they did that in the end of the film, where like they were like, oh, he's dead, and he opens his eyes and he's like, that's Big Brother. Oh, shit.
That was
awesome. That was a great conclusion.
Yes.
I loved it.
That's you're always, even until the end, that's what I liked about it. Like, you were never like, sometimes, especially if you're in a cinema, you feel the audience breathe out, like, like exhale and then just relax, because this is the pull-out shot where it's going to end, and that doesn't, like, it keeps you at the edge till the end, and you are always wondering. Another movie which does that is Drive. Have you seen Drive?
Of course I have.
And at the end, he's like this in the car after the accident, and then it sort of calls back to the game that he was playing with the boy, where both of them look in the eye, and then they play the staring game, like the first one who blinks loses. So, and it's really brilliant, and we have to do another video about Drive. So he's like this, right, and then he has his eyes open. So you have to keep your eyes open to notice that he doesn't blink. So whoever blinks first loses. So it's like it's so brilliant. Like, the audience starts playing the game with the character, and it's one of the most interactive ways. Brilliant way that they did. So that's a great movie.
I loved it. You have to give it a score. 10 out of 10. We'll watch again.
I don't want to give it.
I liked it. It was a fun film.
But
a number is not going to justify.
It was 2 hours and 21 minutes, and
it kept me gripped. Like, I was like interested in the